Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I got this question, which is a cool one to actually kind of think about. And in terms of kind of people who are publishing books and putting other material out. So let me, basically lay out this question here, and then we can chat about it. So the person writes, I published a comic on Comixology, and I'm currently working with an artist to complete 3 follow-up issues. However, I'm discovering I made several amateur mistakes in the published work. A typo here and there, several crossbar eyes that are not necessary. There's a video completing right there. Hear the beep? I'm recording a video, and a video is getting processed like simultaneously. This is the crazy lab of Perch. Anyway, it's sorry, that was distracting. Anyway, back to the original question. I'm thinking of taking the book down and republishing it because I don't want to take the reader out of the story due to unprofessionalism. I put the book online for only 99 cents and plan to have the other 3 at the same price when I'm able to publish them as well. What would you suggest? Or what would you advise? So first off, how cool is this? You got a creator who's actually, wanting to kind of go back and make the book the very best they can. That's awesome. It stands in stark contrast to when I pick up like an omnibus or a trade and like the typos are just still in there. It's always like, there's a whole controversy around republishing and changing the work because people like it, in its original form. And it might be an interesting, like, I'm curious if what people would say if there was, say, a Jack Kirby book where somewhere in kind of Jack Kirby's art, there was a blatant spelling error that was not intentional, but something on a building or something, maybe drew some graffiti in there. I don't know, but it was just blatantly wrong. Most people would probably myself included, to be honest, would say, no, you shouldn't go back and change that. You shouldn't correct that art because it's Jack Kirby and you gotta leave Jack Kirby alone. It's complicated a little bit by the fact that Jack Kirby, of course, is dead. So him being passed on means you should probably leave more of his stuff as is. But if Jack Kirby was alive, what would he say? Would he go, "Oh man, I can't believe I misspelled that word in this panel. Let's go in there and fix that so it looks better." How would collectors would probably want the original as is and would not want it edited, but it brings up an interesting point. I think, especially starting out in your career, you're making a comic book, you're doing 4 issues here, and you're wanting them to be the very best they can be, that, going through and correcting those errors and making them, making the whole product look nice and look great is a good move. I don't think people will be outraged over it. There's a little bit of you're doing it digitally, so taking it down and putting it up. I know that there's a way with Comixology, I believe, that you can just replace the digital file. That's one of the concerns a lot of people have with digital comics is that they get it in one way and then somebody decides to go through and edit it for whatever reasons, legal reasons or political reasons or whatever it happens to be, and they don't have the original source material anymore. In your case, you're just correcting some errors. You're trying to make the best product it can be. And so, I don't think people will be upset with that. That's where we'll open it up to comments, see what other people say. But in general, especially if you explain what you're doing, like if hey, a new version of this file was uploaded. We wanted to just correct a couple errors that were found. One of the best product that we could possibly put out for our customers. I have to believe we live in an insane world, but I have to believe that 99.9% of the people are going to appreciate that and be thankful for it. I do think that is true. People surprise me, but it opens up this kind of broader question about, what should you do with mistakes? I'm not talking about, cases where you're going to recut, like there's been this comment in a lot of comics where comics from the 70s, the crowd shots were like 90% white or sometimes 100% white. And so there's been this comment of like, well, we should go through there and recolor the books so it provides a more melting pot America in the panels. And typically speaking, with those kinds of cases, I'm against it. No, not because I want all the comic panels to be white, but because I think in that case you made a choice. You made the comic for a reason, and you're now changing that reason. This isn't like you made an error, like a spelling error or a production error. This is, you made a choice. I also um, and again, this may be just me. Maybe nobody else listening to this has the same impression. But I think if you take an old comic panel and you just, whip out Photoshop, you're like, let's just change the color on this guy in the crowd from white to black. That's not how race works. You don't just like, select Phil and then you have a different race of a character. I mean, I think that arguably, I think that's borderline disrespectful to people. In that same vein, I've heard this described of like, hey, some of these World War II comics where Asian characters are colored, bright yellow, that those colors are toned down a little bit. That one's tougher because I like. I tend to side on the side of the choices that people made, even the racist choices, shouldn't be kind of glossed over. I think when you gloss over them, you tend to forget that some of this racism occurs, and I think you wind up repeating it. That just, I don't know. That's just my kind of gut feel to it. However, if you're putting out a trade paperback and you've got all these like day glow yellow Asian people, which is true, that there are several, changing the color to be less blatantly offensive isn't a bad idea. Now, you're still stuck with the fact that a lot of these characters are drawn in very racist styles, the big teeth and kind of exaggerated features that were definitely kind of racist caricatures at the time. So I don't know that you're really helping yourself by it's like, well, let's keep all those, let's keep them in the straw hat and the sandals and with the giant teeth and the super thick glasses, but we'll make the super yellow color now a normal brownish color. I don't know that you've helped anything. In fact, I would say you have not helped anything. It's a different color now. Well, it's okay. No, probably not. So I think that there's a whole world of making these edits that gets weird and confusing and probably does not help anybody. But certainly for more recent works, or again, if there was a comic book, this is my own preference. Again, your mileage may vary. If I bought an omnibus and I crack it open, and back in the late 70s, Chris Claremont made an error. The letter, or not Claremont, or the letter, or whoever was working on the book, misspelled, the word garden with like two E's. And it was just a pure error. When they reprint this book, yeah, I would say fix it. I don't think that those spelling errors or other things in the trade, the reprint, the omnibus, I don't think they need to be preserved. I don't think that preserves the sanctity of the book. I think if there's errors in the lettering, go for it. I think if you're modifying the story in some way, I'd rather you didn't. I think if you're editing the art, that's where I think it's up to the artist. Again, like in this Kirby example, this kind of fictional Kirby example, if Kirby said, yeah, I hate seeing my spelling error there, let me fix it, I think you should let him fix it. I think that's fair. In terms of going back and editing other things that are maybe problematic in the book, it's the definition kind of a slippery slope, in the sense that you have to be able to do it well, and most people don't. When many people, the dirty truth of it is, when people have wanted to edit content in the past for maybe racist or sensitivity issues, they don't. The goal seems to be, how can we just get this comic just to the bar of acceptable, and then shove it out the door? It doesn't feel like they're actually trying to, correct any wrongs or make a better product, or it doesn't feel like any of that. It feels like it's a definite, just how do we do the least amount of work possible so people won't call us racist? And I think if that's a dodgy prospect, but Anyway, I love this mail. I love this idea. And most importantly, though, I love that we've got this person here who is, putting out comics and wanting to make them the best they can be, has a set of books and is actually thinking through how do I make a more professional product for my customer? I love that. That's awesome. So good for you. Whatever you do, the fact that you're just thinking it through is really the best choice of all. And I'm sure you'll make the right decision with whatever works for your book. And I'm curious what other people say in the comments below. So let me know your thoughts on this. Would you go back and edit this book that you found some typos in, or whatever it happens to be? And what would you do? And then the broader topic, where is the line of editing things, and how would you correct trades or omnibuses or things? Let me know. Anyway, thanks for listening.